Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vivi Valley, Tech with Soul. As we all know, we're entering the age of AI agents. With the rise of tools like OpenClaw, we are seeing a whole new wave of agentic AI companies emerging from Silicon Valley to markets around the world. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of noise, and a lot of ambition. But the real question is, where is the real opportunity? Mark Cuban recently hinted at something important. Millions of small businesses in the US still need help entering the AI era. And honestly, the same opportunity exists globally, especially across APAC, where so many businesses are operationally intensive, still underserved by technology, and now ready for transformation. Our guest today is building directly for that future. Charlie Hu is the co-founder of COCO.xyz, a Singapore-based company building what they call AI teams, not just AI assistants, but AI teams with ambition to help businesses across the APAC region improve productivity, reduce costs, and unlock growth. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vivi. Thank you for having me.
Charlie actually is an old friend of mine, so happy to have you here and also to see you building Coco together with your co-founder, Kevin. So as we mentioned earlier, everyone is talking about AI agents right now, but you are building with a very clear APEX strategy. And that is what makes your story especially compelling. So let's start from the beginning. How did Coco come to life? And how did you and Kevin come together? Why did you choose APAC as your core market?
Well, first of all, great to have the chance to share our story and journey. It's been amazing a year, actually. And now it's actually end of March, right? So Coco started actually literally 2025, beginning of March. So right now it's kind of our 1 year anniversary for this AI journey. It's been amazing. I would say we learned a lot. It feels like a decade, right? So we had a very strong and deep Web3 background. We were building Web3 infrastructure last 8 years, had multiple like top Web3 infrastructure, kind of leading blockchain kind of work experiences. We were building one since 2023 around the Bitcoin, and we had a very strong, big actually engineering team. Right, all time high, we had around 50 in full-time engineers. So it was quite a big burn rate. Honestly, every month we have to spend quite a lot of R&D costs building software. So we are a heavy user of AI since ChatGPT came out. Right, from very beginning, obviously we were following all the tooling across like Cursor, Cloud, everything else, right? So vibe coding, we were, literally once the vibe coding term came out from Anthony Carpacci, we start kind of doing that as well. So it was more like a side project. We were kind of exploring how to use AI to help us to hire people faster, better. And then we actually building a software to even potentially to sell and then actually be used by other companies, right? So that's kind of how we started as a AI powered enterprise recruitment solution. We actually had around 30 enterprise clients across like Web3, fintech kind of space. We were pretty fast growing. Like within 2 months, we have that kind of client base. And then the two things happened actually changed our mind a bit. One was Opus 4.5 came out, right, from Anthropic. That was a very good model. And that basically gave at least me and my co-founder the very strong feeling, okay, AI generated code is not crappy AI slop. It's actually high quality code. It is, if you give a right prompt and right request to them, they actually generated better code than some of the junior engineers. So that was a very, very aha moment. Okay, wow. Instead of maybe helping enterprise to hire people better, maybe AI is the next employee for the team, for the company, and for the colleagues and so on, right? So we pivoted the vision and the product design not for human but for AI. So that was actually around summer last year, right? Last summer. And then obviously OpenClaw came out after that, right? So we were building this framework, tried to improve this memory management issue for agents. So we had our open source framework, agentic framework called Zyrus. So Zyrus.ai is fully open source. It is our own built agent framework to manage the agent as like orchestration or operating system layer. So obviously it was very interesting coincidence. 3 weeks after we launched Cyrus, fully open source, OpenClaw came out. Peter Stenberg, the very big legend, he launched it. And obviously the rest is history. The entire world start following about this, right? We were not necessarily very well known, right? But we were like, wow, this is interesting. Obviously, we give credits to Peter. we took some inspiration from that and we start actually involving, okay, what if we focus on enterprise? But in the enterprise world, we understand company have multiple departments, especially like medium size, even big corporates. It's not going to be one agent solve everything. It doesn't work and you should not design in that way. So we had our COCO kind of 2.0 evolution, moving from the AI employee to an AI team, building this multiple agent kind of coordination and collaboration platform, kind of like the B2B multiple, right? Which like agents talking to each other, but in a business trusted environment. So that's kind of our current status of the product. We focus on enterprise, mostly as small media enterprises across many different sectors like gaming, training, e-commerce, manufacturing, and so on, and helping them to solve all kinds of things across like CRM, HRD, and so on. We've been growing pretty fast last 3 months now, almost hitting like 200 paying customer in our enterprises now. That's kind of where we are.
That's very interesting. So you started from entry point in AI. You wanted to help companies hire people, and then you realized that actually companies might not want to hire people. They want to
Yeah.
improve productivity and cut the labor cost, right? And then you were actually working in the same direction as OpenClaw. There's
Yeah.
so much to unpack. So when you talk about AI teams, just explain the difference to us between an AI employee and an
Yeah,
AI team.
absolutely. So there are two directions we see different type of agentic companies are doing. One is they want to make all kinds of skill packaged into one super agent, right? That agent does everything. In the sci-fi kind of contest, it's almost like people wants to bring the superpower to a Terminator, right? Like, in a funny way. I think it's very important to have very strong agents, make it as much strong as possible and smart as possible. But in our design philosophy, we wanted to don't reinvent a lot of the wisdom in human civilization. Like one human civilization wisdom is modern management. The company, the modern management within the company, it's been hundreds of years, right? Company start from a few people wants to serve a product or services to their customer, right? And then they have a legal entity, have different departments. Different departments serve different functions. They have different kind of responsibility, and we believe agents, no matter how smart they are not a person. They're not the entity to take responsibility. Human who own the agents will take responsibility, right? And then how they collaborate with each other. What makes company powerful and sustainable is they have a very organic, healthy collaboration mechanism or protocol within the company and also within their supply chains, stakeholders and shareholders and so on, right? So we don't want to disrupt that. So we believe no matter how agent AI become, like evolve, the company is still gonna have like multiple departments. They still have different functions. You still want to have different protocols. Certain agents or department don't have access to sensitive data such as finance data, compliance data, and certain internal important management departments such as legal, finance should not actually directly deal with the customers, the shareholders, and the public media, and so on, right? So that's kind of our philosophy. Why we designed this multi-agent coordination protocol, because there's like a theory and management theory behind it. I have MBA degree. I studied behavioral finance, so that's kind of I put a lot of the kind of thoughts on that, right? My co-founder managed all-time high 300 engineer team in a big company. He have a lot of experiences managing engineers, so we kind of both have that kind of managerial background. So we believe what kind of enterprise we sell our AI team, they still gonna have their people, the human employees in the team managing human and also agent at the same time, right? And then different agents should do different things, but because agents are able to communicate directly and collaborating directly with each other with our platform, the human bottleneck will be resolved, right? So this is kind of how we see it. And in the AI world, the best theory is always needs to be applied in real practice. So we do that all the time. Like as you said, we started as application on enterprises because we need that ourselves. And then we started helping others to use all those applications to hire faster and better, right? So our AI team solution, which we call HSA, Human Agent Connect platform, we go ourselves, we build it, and we are the most heavy user. So we have 15 people full-time team members. We're managing 40 bots full-time. So that's kind of the how heavy loaded with that. On average, we have like 2 or 3 bots each person managing. My co-founder Kevin managing 7. I'm managing 4. Right. So and different bots doing different things. And anytime we want to initiate a task, no matter it's build a new website, launch a new feature, do a new code review, or on my side, build a new CRM system, do some due diligence and tracking some competitor landscape. I assign multiple agents to actually start working on that together, right? And they deconstruct the task into smaller modules, and they assign the roles for different agents to do things. And you can see from our HSA platform how they're communicating with each other, and eventually generate the high quality work reviewed by each other, and eventually report to us. So we are the heaviest user, and we think we at least 15x our productivity per capita
Mm.
with the amount of money we spend on team costs, R&D costs and so on. The output we generate, right, it's I think it's 15x more than when we don't have the platform like in last year. So I think it's a huge productivity boost. We believe it's a huge value proposition for a lot of enterprises.
From what I heard, it seems like the breakthrough lies in the workflow optimization, but also human and agent management, almost like a leadership, right? So you and Kevin, you're both serial entrepreneurs, and you have experience managing a big team. So put together, really, COCO is giving businesses a more complete workflow rather than just isolated pieces done by single agents, right? So I
Yes.
would like to ask you that for a real business, where do you see the clearest early ROI with
Mm,
COCO? For example, you mentioned
yeah.
the sales onboarding, right? So which workflows
Mhm.
convert fastest today from your experience based on your clients?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of use cases that's being applied across different clients that are already in our client base. We see some patterns. Pretty much every single company will use our Coco agents to do. One is on the sales side, right? The CRM system. We have a AI generated custom made CRM system. As long as give us some of kind of workflow input, and us means that they're agents, right? You just need people just need to actually ask our Coco agents, okay, here's my sales workflow. This is our ideal customer profile. This is how I'm doing the sales distribution channel. This is our go-to-market strategy. And some of these are my competitor, they're how they are selling, and this is all my leads list, or even maybe they even can get some data exported from some existing legacy CRM system, right? So our AI is able to generate custom made and obviously actually tailor made kind of leads lists with proper deep research about each leads and potential prospects, why they are useful, why they are potential customer for your business, and so on. So I'm doing that myself. My personal AI powered CRM system can bring me 20 very tailored, suitable profiled ICP kind of fit profile kind of clients with custom made personalized messages. I can just make a little bit tweak. They pretty much finish 99% of work, and I can make sure it's sending the right order in the right tone, the right voice to the right people. Right. I think that's very important.
Mhm.
The tens of hours of research and the tens of hours of custom made messages, is being done by AI. So those are the heavy lifting stuff, right? So that's one use cases. The second use cases is probably the biggest use case right now. We see huge amount of demand. That's custom support, right? And we have companies. Some of our paying companies have hundreds of custom team, like human team, right? It's pretty mundane, repeatable, relatively low value kind of work. But
Mhm.
because of lack of automation, they still need a lot of people, right, to pick up the calls, enter all the emails, like all kinds of custom support. But we need that, right? So we have had this custom support support kind of agents fitting to a lot of FAQ, a lot of different kind of information. We helped quite a few of our customers save a lot of the custom support work, right? And I think the goal for a lot of business leaders is to trim a bit on the customer support team, especially in industries like gaming industry and so on.
Mhm.
They have sometimes more than 30% of their workforce in the company are customer support. So they really wanted to kind of size down a bit on that kind of team to bring more agents to help them to improve the workflow and so on. So we see that as another example, a huge demand across different sector. I can keep going on like this, right? But I think for us to summarize, Coco is not just focusing on one vertical, one use case only, right? We general purpose enterprise solution. We have around 100 sectors we are kind of targeting. Obviously, we're gonna get it narrowed down to a few, like which we have like very good traction. I know so far in our Coco.xyz use case page, We have over 1,000 kind of use case examples, tutorials, and other content already there. I think that we're pretty confident to say whatever industry, whatever company doing, trying to use whatever use cases, we have already kind of properly documented tutorial for the potential clients. They can easily search it, right? And that's the power of AI. AI is very well rounded. They are very smart, and with all these pre-trained skills, there's a lot of things can be done. So the best thing is to help our clients, the customer, to get the most value out of the AI product we build, right, and across all the landscape as well, and share the best practice. The best practice is takes nuance, knowledge, experience, judgment, right? And that's the part I think human would not be replaced. And then we want to offer that value on top of our product service. Yeah.
I want to zoom in a little bit on your positioning because you go to market in the APAC market first. A lot of people in the West still kind of imagine enterprise AI through a very Silicon Valley lens. But across Southeast Asia and then the broader APAC region, many businesses are more labor intensive, more multilingual, and more operationally fragmented, and often less technical, right? Like you mentioned, a lot of them still very labor intensive, and you're very familiar with the market, and you travel to Silicon Valley a lot as well. So you're actually quite familiar with how things are done on this side of the world. But so from your perspective, what do people here in Silicon Valley still misunderstand or underestimate about enterprise AI in the APAC region, like what COCO is doing out there?
Great question. Thanks, Vivi, to ask this. I think there's quite a lot of nuances behind this question. Let me try to unpack one by one. Right. So for the audience that are based in Bay Area is the most technological pioneer place, right, in the last 3 or 4, even like a half century, right, from the semiconductor to internet out to AI, right? There's a lot of pioneer and great builders in Bay Area. And I think the level of technical sophistication is very high, probably the highest in the world, right? And on the other side, economically, the labor cost, the living cost, the company operation cost is pretty high, right? So I think to automate things in Bay Area is very needed, right? But I think what we see in the APAC region, and a few different things. APAC is a huge market in terms of the size of the population, the sheer amount of companies across different industries in this region is huge, right? I think you mentioned that number. Like Mark Cuban said, there are like tens of millions of small and medium enterprises in the United States, right? And many across many different states, and not just Bay Area. I think in APAC it's at least 500 million. When we talk about a number of companies, that's still existing, not just like dying, right, across the APAC region. So the amount of companies that need help to improve their business, make sure they can save costs, boost productivity is huge. And I would say a lot of them haven't really catching up, not even be able to catching up the fast growing, fast moving agentic AI world. Like OpenClaw launched literally just 4.5 months ago. They made history, became the largest, biggest, most followed star, right? Like highest star followed GitHub repository in the history, right? They beat Linux and beat Rest, all these very famous software open source project within 4 months. For a lot of enterprises in APAC, they're not necessarily following all the trend. They're not the people actually watch Twitter 10 hours a day, right? They don't do the things probably a lot of the Bay Area people do. They have very different kind of way to absorb and read the information. And sometimes I would say it's at least 3 months, even 6 months of initial. So I think the APAC market is very untapped, and it requires some education. Whoever actually understand how those industry work, right, and how these business leaders wants to do what is important. So there's a lot of nuances on each sectors doing what. And don't get me wrong, APAC is huge. It has over 15 different countries, and each of them are unique by itself, right? And that's a normal mistake people made when enter APAC, like from the Western kind of countries, Western world. APAC is not homogeneous. It's very heterogeneous, meaning whatever go-to-market strategy you're doing in Thailand is fundamentally probably even the opposite, like Vietnam, right? Like you can't assume the same. So each market has a different nuanced take and probably a unique approach to enter the market. And of course, every single sector is also different, right? Different sector working different rules, different supply chain kind of boundaries, protocols, and so on. And there's still a lot of kind of relationship based kind of things happening in Asia as well, right? And because of the culture, because of how business gets done here, we do see a lot of the Bay Area companies when they enter China, enter the APAC region, even China as well, right? It's like they made a lot of mistakes. So I think that part we are very experienced. I have over 10 years growing, helping companies grow and scale in the APAC region, do go to market strategy. I did that for multiple major Web3 infrastructure projects and in the past. So now I'm doing that for our company, right? So I think that's that. We have to be humble. It's still early and it's just beginning of the journey. There's still a lot of unknown, even though we have a lot of experiences in the APAC market. But because of the unknown, it's the exciting part, right? We have a lot of market we haven't really tapped into. And I think whoever actually build a really good AI product, but also on the same time, understand your market, understand your business, understand your client's business to be like a very good uh, software product, and you actually can offer them plus the advisory, the consulting service you can offer them is going to win the market. It's not just the software itself, right? Because every single different sectors have a lot of nuances. If you don't understand that, you're just trying to brute force, send all the, spread all the ads, like doing all the billboard ads. It's not gonna work, right? The conversion doesn't work in that way, especially in the enterprise world.
APAC is huge, right? It's very heterogeneous, and then the competition is also very intense. So, what is Coco's moat? I know you have the open source model, you have the
Yeah.
multi agents, but apart from
Right.
that, on the technical side, and then also there's the non-technical side.
I think the moat is a very interesting question. I've been reading a lot of the articles, watching some of the YouTube interviews, right? Sam Altman said there's a lot of things AI in the AI business has essentially no moat. It's obviously an extreme take. I I agree some part, but disagree certain part as well. As I said, right, like it takes a lot of nuances, a lot of knowledge to understand your targeted customer, right? Especially in specific in the industry and specific markets. So I think that nuances and knowledge and experience helping company to grow in this market with a lot of very kind of good relationship across different markets, different countries is our kind of go-to-market strategy advantage. I don't think it's moat, it's advantage, right? We are fairly early in the game. We have been making revenue. We have over 200 clients already. I think on the technical side, you mentioned, right? We are probably one of the first. I don't know, it's like number one, at least like top 10 in the world, managed, launched, and it's already in production mode. Multi-agent coordination platform, right? With that feature already live, being used by over 130 companies already. So the amount of the velocity of us in our engineering team to improve our solution, to receive the feedback loop and actually launching new features, we have quite a few major strategic announcement we're gonna make, hopefully by the end of Q2. Stay tuned on that, by the way, as well, which is beyond just like the multi-agent agentic kind of a coordination feature. Um, so look, it's about speed. It's about velocity. It's about how you can ship your product and solution to the right customer and get the right feedback loop and start growing iteratively along the way, right? So I think for that, along with the way how we manage our company, right? Like one human, three agents on average, that kind of speed. Eventually will be one human, 10 agents, right? To do a lot of things autonomously, 24/7. I think we are building the moat while we are actually building the business, right? So build a moat is not being built from day one. It's hard to have like a very defensive moat when you have no traction, right? So that's kind of our philosophy. In the AI world, when everybody have access to the IQ 140, even 160 super intelligent model, the knowledge, sheer amount of knowledge and data is not a moat anymore because everybody have the SQL access. It's democratizing basic intelligence, right? But the traction, the nuance, the things AI cannot do, that's the part where I think you are building the moat along the ways. That's why I say like it is a hard working grind, but I think we are doing things a bit different compared to a lot of the Bay Area companies. Don't get me wrong, Bay Area company has the advantage, right? There are a lot of pioneers. They have access to capital market easier, closer than us. But it's just different game we're playing. We're not saying we completely not going to tap into the American market. We do have a few existing clients. It's a bit ad hoc. We are still growing our team US as well, along the ways. But I think right now, the existing traction, the existing focus, as you said, is going to be APAC. Yeah.
I agree with you. There are two sides of the story. One is like Sam Altman said, there's no moat, meaning on the technology side, AI, is overtaking humans. But on the other side, like you mentioned, I see a lot of operational excellence. And that is what human can do, right? You make everything sound so easy. What is the biggest challenge in building COCO and also in go-to-market? Can you share that stories or that
Yeah.
experience?
So it's not easy, right? Don't get me wrong. It's hard grind, right? It's like the famous marketing guru Gary Vaynerchuk said, you need to put the work, you need to grind, right? I've been traveling. I'm gonna travel probably more than what I have been traveled in the Web3 world this year, right? It's gonna be very fast paced, boom, boom, right? The good thing is we have AI help us to do a lot of work, right? To do a lot of basic research, to do like tracking, monitoring a lot of things. A lot of the time, people, even you, right? Sometimes you don't even need to ask me question. You ask our agent, right, in the Telegram group for a lot of
Yes.
things, basic stuff, so they can reply you 24/7, things like that. So I think you can get more things done with AI's help. But the challenge right now is attention, right? It is the most heavily competitive landscape right now. When software and intelligence become commodity, right? How you can get attention, how you get liquidity is the biggest fight. That probably the biggest challenge among all the startups, all the companies, especially we are doing B2B business. The business owners who are always busy already managing their company, growing their business, their attention is so scarce. How we can be noticed by them, right? In what kind of approach is the biggest challenge from from now probably until the longer term, right? We're gonna keep grinding on that to get attention, to build a story, and then make sure you said the right words, custom made, right? I think that's still the biggest challenge. Um, and also there's a lot of sales kind of nuances, because I'm talking about sales, right? I'm the growth guy in the company.
Yeah.
For enterprises, you want to make sure you choose the right um, customer, right? The qualification, the validation is very important. Just for some companies, they might not be a good fit for you, right? For they might not be actually your user, at least in short term. And sometimes maybe strategically you should actually on hold a bit to some companies because they have very long sales cycle. The pushback they have on embracing AI is huge and so on, right? They have different games in the industry. You need to understand. I'll give you an example. In South Asia, the real estate business is very, I wouldn't say a bad word, kind of rotted, but it's a bit poisoned, right? They don't embrace all the new technology. They didn't embrace cloud computing. They didn't embrace mobile internet. They didn't embrace a lot of the software as a service industry solutions. They're now going to embrace AI nearly soon because of the inertia they have in the industry. But if you have a few clients ad hocly ask you this, but you believe this is going to be a big market, which is a big market in terms of the economic GDP and output they generate, but it's a tough business you want if you enter because they're not embracing the AI stuff, right? So for us is finding the right customer base, get some small wins, creatively grow along the ways. I think it's the important thing. And I probably that's kind of the biggest challenge for me to figure out. We are a startup. We are still fairly speaking, not a well-known company, right? And a well-known company doesn't mean you will be used by a customer, right? Like the whole big raise, big PR equals to big sales is is a flawed assumption, right? So I think for us, we are not actually actively fundraising. We're pretty healthy on treasury, on cash flow, and we're profitable as we speak. But getting your customer one by one, make sure you deliver good service to them is still going to be the challenge, and it's the biggest challenge so far still. Yeah.
So choose your clients smartly. There are a lot of nuances. Some clients,
Strategically. Yeah.
yeah,
Strategically.
strategically, and
Yeah.
then who are the low hanging fruits, who are the first tier, the priorities. So you need to rank your priorities, and that
Yeah.
is what you are doing. And as AI also moves into this higher responsibility workflows, and of course, security and trust has become a big
Right.
concern. So how do you make sure that the operating environment is safe? Because that may be one of the biggest concerns for businesses.
Yeah, so Coco offer multiple options, right? For big corporates, they want a local deployment solution. We able to do that. But as I said as well, we probably couldn't satisfy every single company to do local deployment because it costs more money. It's higher costs. We need to assign specific engineers, right, as a solution architect and engineer to satisfy that kind of needs. Our kind of standardized option, cloud based. We have the $99 Air plan, which is light mode, and we have this professional mode, monthly based $450 kind of plan, which can include a monthly large model subscription services plus fully dedicated cloud computer only for the clients, right? So we work with all the major top cloud computer companies like Google Cloud. So our assumption is simple. On the business side and non-business, and on the technical side, right? The reason we want to do cloud-based agent solution as a package to clients is we don't believe every single users in the world needs to buy a Mac Mini, a Mac Studio to manage their OpenClaw, the agent locally in the home. Like that is a very small technical heavy user or pioneering kind of community, right? I think that market is so small, it's already tapped out. It's like 250,000 users all over the world. Those are technical people, heavy engineers, tech pioneers. They follow every single AI trend. They try every single AI new solution, right? And they probably are the first group of people queued up in the Mac Mini, Mac store, Apple store, buy all the Mac Mini, like 5, even 20 Mac Mini, altogether, right? Put that in the home, download the large model, run that locally. They shared a very interesting, fancy tutorial video on Twitter. But the thing is, 99.9% of people watch those videos are not necessarily going to do the same thing as they do because most of the people are not technical. Some of them probably don't even cannot actually afford all the 20 Mac Minis and so on. Even if you bought a Mac Mini, you open up, it's technically fairly still challenging for a lot of non-technical people to install all the stores, all the skills, right? To make sure it's most up-to-date version, to maintain it. And most importantly, economic reason of API cost with the large model, that model in OpenClaw is so expensive and so unpredictable. It is going to be hard, right? Like I think we saw in multiple news, like people end up paying thousands of dollars a night because they send some kind of a vague, generous prompt, a task to the agent. Then the agent start running, scraping the entire internet and end up with actually cost thousands of dollars of large model cost, right? Token cost. So for any enterprise business, it's like higher technical barrier, unpredictable on cost, no customer support, right? You have to do your thing by yourself. Is not going to be the right approach and right solution for a lot of the non-technical small media enterprises, right? So what we believe is easy to plug in, within 10 minutes to deploy, cloud-based, no need to buy new hardware. We have the customer support. We have all the pre-trained skills for you. We have all the templates for you. We share constantly all the best practice for you, B2B wise. Somehow the hand-holding we're offering to the customer is the right way to address the mass audience, the mass adoption audience. Not the technical nerds, not the technical pioneers. They probably are not our customer also, altogether anyway. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we believe is a bigger market address, and we need to offer different approach, right? And then echo back on your security part. Security has been a big issue in OpenClaw, right? No offense to Peter. I think the way he designed it was not focused on security in the beginning. That's actually a different priority, right? OpenClaw asks you a lot of high level authority, like the access to your email, files, everything. Like they use terminal to manage your computer and so on. It's fairly very intrusive. They don't recommend you to use your existing work computer with a lot of privacy data, right, in that computer to run OpenClaw because it's very risky. And even with that, one kind of warning and all together, a lot of people lost their private keys, their credit card information, even deleted some of the emails by mistake, right? Even the famous security engineer from Meta, right, mistakenly sent some wrong task, right? Then her OpenClaw deleted a lot of the stuff. So these things happen. We saw that coming, right? In Zyros framework, he designed a very different way. Having a new dedicated new cloud computer with no privacy files in that computer is one way to solve that problem, right? You're not going to leak your privacy information. If you don't want to use your AI to do anything with the private information, if you don't upload any documents to that agent, your information will stay in your local computer. Will not be stay on the cloud whatsoever, right? I think that's the best way to approach it. And the second approach is the second thing we want to talk about is the assumption of cloud computer is safe, right? So that's a controversial, debatable question. For some companies, they actually prefer local hosted. We see that coming, right? They kind of still don't trust the famous big company like AWS, Google Cloud, which I believe is actually pretty safe. They have been proven in the last 15 years, cloud computer is trustable, right? They are very solid enterprise infrastructure, right? They offer plug and play, flexible plan for all the cloud computer. Most of the mobile internet and a Web2 kind of platform are run in cloud computer. So if you believe you can use Alibaba, like all these Facebook, platform websites on cloud, then all of a sudden people don't trust cloud compute anymore. Like for me, it's just like a nuanced take. I think eventually people will choose. Some of them will use the cloud agent model, which we offer as a standardized model. Some of the enterprises still stick to the local deployment model, which is higher costs, higher maintenance fees, but it's stay in their local base. Yeah.
I resonate a lot with what you said. I'm a non-technical person. I'm learning to be more technical. I try obviously COCO.xyz, and that's exactly how I felt. It's very easy to use, and then I can trust it, and it's super easy to set it up, and really helps a lot. You share a lot of talks about the one person companies, and this we're gonna see more super solo founders. Do you think the one person companies are really
Mm.
going to replace more businesses with small teams? Or do you think the future is more about smaller human
Mm.
teams with much more leverage? What's the future look like for you? Like you
Right.
mentioned, that we should have the human side in the loop, right?
Yeah.
You are on the front line of
Yeah.
human and agents
Right.
collaborations. Tell us your
Yeah.
your views.
So I'm gonna wear different hats, right? Or share different perspective from the product builders hats. Yeah. So Coco's product philosophy is definitely agent collaborating for human, in the loop in terms of initiating the tasks, giving feedback, and make final decision and a confirmation for the on agent's work, right? So humans still gonna be the and the, as a unit to share judgment, decisions, tastes, perspective, right? We believe that should not be replaced as a fundamental anthropic how to say that, like it's a human rights, and
Mhm.
it's a risk control. It's something humans should not give their their rights away to the AI because it's scary. It will leads to chaos. It will leads to something which is gonna be crazy, right? So I think that's kind of one part. When people talk about AGI, AI kind of wipe out a lot of entire human civilization. I think it's like wait, it's way too extreme. We should not let that happen, right? So that's what we call the product human in the loop product design philosophy. It's
Mhm.
embedded in our Coco product design workflow and all that as well. On the second part, you mentioned about one person company versus like the other existing, and small media size enterprises, right? And with a
Yep.
few human managing a lot of agents. So Coco ourselves as a company, we are the second part, right? We are like 15 to probably, I think no matter how big we grow in terms of business size, we're gonna cap at 50 people. Like that's kind of our goal. Like 50 people will be the maximum size of human team head accounts we have in the company, no matter how large we grow, right? And then we probably will manage hundreds of agents. So for small media and enterprise companies, they are still going to be very important economic bodies, right? They are the important economic kind of entities, right? We need enterprises like those kind of small media enterprises to generate GDPs, to offer services for the economy, for the countries, and for the world, right? So I don't believe this one person company can wipe out all the small media enterprise companies. A lot of existing companies should be AI native, but not meaning they should actually become like one person company. The one person company is an interesting new term because a lot of the people, unfortunately and fortunately, will be replaced by AI. Sorry, right? And then they gonna use AI to tap into new business frontiers, start a new company by themselves, right? Because they
Yeah.
can do so many things without depending on other people's skill set. Because AI can be their assistant, their employees, their team members do a lot of things. So I do see some super smart, well-rounded builder or entrepreneur. They're gonna start as a one-person company to do specific interesting stuff. I do see a few trend and see a few sectors gonna have quite a lot of new wave of one-person company. One sector which I feel very bullish is the gaming.
Mhm.
I've been gaming myself for almost 20 years. I had a lot of experience talking to gaming companies back in days in the Web3 space, and when we have actually a few gaming company in Coco's custom base as well. I see gaming gonna be probably the most pioneer space in terms of adopt AI end to make it 100% AI native company, one person company. A lot of the AI producer with great idea producing a new, interesting, innovative new game, they don't have to depend on engineers. They don't have to depend and pay a lot of money for the creative director to make all the drawing, design, because AI can do that for them.
Mhm.
And they actually can use AI to do a lot of distribution as well. Like, obviously there's a lot of the gaming platform like Steam and all that you can access to. As if you can deliver a really good product, like good games, you can access to a lot of gamers with very fairly low cost, right? And so on. So it become a very good place to build one person company with extremely low cost, extremely low productions, time frame to ship a very interesting, remarkable game product to the probably the potentially the entire world, right? So
Mm,
the whole traditional legacy game company, like AAA studios, it costs you, hundreds of millions of dollars to build a game, and it costs you tens of millions of dollars to do the distribution, and obviously a lot of marketing, and even potentially make a break even business. That's legacy, right? Like for the big IP AAA company like the Riot Gaming, the Blizzard, they're gonna still do the same. They have the existing IP, existing gamer base, they make existing revenue. But for a lot of the one person company, like those individual indie kind of game
mm,
producer, they don't have to raise millions of dollars to launch their product. They can bootstrap their first version product with fraction of cost and within like weeks to build it. So I think that's the powerful play. I am very bullish one person game in industry like gaming. I am not necessarily that bullish. I would say I'm even skeptical for one person company in industry like finance
mm,
because there quite a lot of compliance. We're talking about risk control, we talk about liquidity management, we talk about asset management. You need to access a lot of humans.
mm,
Institutions and family office or high net worth individual is not going to trust a one person company with no
mm,
track record. I'm sorry, like this is not how the world will work, right? No matter how smart you are, how great your product is, you're still gonna take time to get a license, get compliance, and obviously, more importantly, build trust. Trust is not built just by one person. It doesn't work in that way, right? So I do see certain industries probably don't really have real successful one person company, and then financial industries probably is one of them. Yeah,
mm. I love Coco's product strategy, human in the loop and human at the helm to make sure that
yeah.
humans always make the right decisions and guiding the AI while AI is assisting us, but humans are
So
making the call.
I think that's a little bit of, to just echo on that part. I think human is not always making the right decision, but the
Mm,
the fact we don't make decision anymore, let AI do the decision making for us, it's a fundamental difference, right? I think human make big decisions, but we correct ourselves, right? We iterate along the ways, and AI is we're using AI to help us to make better
yes,
decisions, but it's fundamentally different compared to some other people think, okay, human is stupid, let's just AI to do smarter things on behalf of us completely. I think it's fundamentally different. I think
yes.
human in the loop, human with real life wisdom, nuances, and they have a lot of access to different information which AI doesn't have, is still important in the business environment specifically.
Yeah, that's a good point. Humans can make mistakes, AI can make mistakes too, but just giving up the decision making options and just let AI take over, that's dangerous. So yes, I
Yeah.
think that's a good one. And so let's talk about what comes next for Coco.
Mhm.
Especially what are the key milestones ahead of the company, and are you raising funds right now? And what's your plan from here? I know that
Mm.
APAC is the priority market, and
Yeah.
probably you're thinking about the global next.
Yeah.
And tell us your plan.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So yeah, we are a Singapore-based company. We've been kind of growing global, but still regional based, right? In the APAC first. I mean, I'm currently in Hong Kong, right? Just attended a conference, OpenClaw Summit yesterday. We tap into different markets in Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, mainland China. Soon will be other countries along the ways, right? So growth is definitely the very important thing in the next 3 months. By the end of Q2, we want to grow to 2,000 paying customer. We like sustainable customer, right? We want to hit certain milestone in terms of monthly recurring revenue, and obviously we can use that as a way to predict our annual recurring revenue. And it's kind of the very important metrics, right, for any AI software business. With that said, we also very ambitiously try to build a very strong infrastructure engineering team to do some pioneering product along with orchestration products and even operating agentic operating system, and even have some pilot to try to explore the large model products. Not saying we are building another large model by ourselves, but we want to open up the frontier in a product offering. Our engineering team is so sophisticated and so well rounded right now. We don't want just to end up with just offering one thing like only. We want to be like a full enterprise solution package to have certain end control. And to be very transparent, right now, because we don't really have our own large model and have not like exclusive strong relationship with some of large model supplier, sometimes we do see the supply chain risks in terms of, okay, large model companies, they stop operating and so on and so forth, right? They stop service for certain accounts and so on. So that's kind of how we want to have like our own ecosystem growth kind of approach, without having too much risks from the supply chain side, right? From the supplier side mostly. So I think the Q3, Q4 this year going to be pretty crazy in a good way and a bad way. Good way means AI going to be so good. We have so many good, amazing practice, application and practical use cases. We can actually you can use that, right? Sell those solutions to enterprises. We are very bullish. We can make a lot of revenue Q3, Q4, but we also are very aware there's going to be a lot of potential risks, black swan, in terms of midterm election. We have the now Middle East war, and then the oil costs and all potentially will be the energy cost, even the token cost on AI will be gets higher and higher. We are monitoring and making our own kind of judgment and assessments how the world will be Q3 and Q4, right? So for us, we need to stay anti-fragile. We want to manage our treasury wisely. We are making profitable, so we want to not overburn ourselves, right? We shouldn't make the mistakes like a lot of the companies in the Web3 or fintech world made, right? Just overburn yourself when you had the growth mode. So in terms of fundraising, at this moment, right now, we're not actively fundraising. We want to hit the milestone on traction. But once we hit that, I think I'm gonna be very busy for like at least a month to talk to every single investor, capital groups or family offices that I know in our network, or the ones actually already somehow working with us directly, and to really have a proper round kind of approach. But we need to have all the numbers hit, right? It's a very different kind of fundraising dynamics compared to Web3. It's much more focused on metrics, numbers, recurring revenue, over obviously the sentiment, the narrative, and the hype, right? So we are already sitting on the biggest hype, which is AI. So hype is relatively equal for everybody in the AI world. So it's not it's the hype and the narrative can make any company difference. It's probably actually the use cases, the tractions, the revenue, right, as kind of the key way to fundraise. And I do think instead of focusing on fundraising, talking to a lot of investors, which we are not there yet, I'm going to focus on talking to a lot of users and clients because we are ready for them. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Getting the feedback from the market is important. You have this anti-fragile and very entrepreneurial spirit, and that's great. And wish you all the best of the luck in fulfilling your milestones. And also, we're looking forward to your Q2 big announcement. And Charlie, thank you so much. This has been such an inspiring conversation, and thank you for sharing. I'm excited to see what COCO builds next. And what I really appreciate about Charlie's story is that this is not just about smarter models or exciting demos. It's about how real businesses, especially across APAC, can actually use AI in ways that are practical, scalable, and trustworthy. And I think that is where the real opportunity is. Thank you for tuning in for Vivi Valley Tech with Soul. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share it with someone building in AI, enterprise software, or future of work. See you next time.
Thank you very much.